Hello everybody, my name is Spoons Rattling, and welcome to another video covering again another kaiju. This is going to be Gamera from the Heisei trilogy, which I've just gotten into, and I must say is fantastic. Anyways, I'm sure many of you know who Gamera is, but I'm sure many of you don't. Gamera that we're covering today was a creation by the ancient civilization of Atlantis. Their first creation, which was Gyaos, a bat-like dragon creature, went out of control and was beyond anything they could do, so in a last-ditch effort to save themselves, they made Gamera. But while Gamera was able to defeat the Gyaos, for the most part, a few survived, Atlantis was destroyed in the battle, and the Atlanteans were doomed. So, they sealed Gamera away on an atoll, and sent him out into the sea to rise again when the Earth would be threatened. And that made Gamera the protector of Earth and all of its inhabitants forever, or for the future at least. Let's get into Gamera's abilities. Now, of course, Gamera, despite having a turtle shell, he does actually seem to just have about average durability for a kaiju, often taking pretty heavy damage from a lot of his enemies, but a lot of his enemies are very powerful, so it's not surprising that he is often in a bit of an underdog situation. Even though he does get damaged quite heavily, he is extremely resilient to pain. Even when he's being impaled, he will continue fighting regardless. When he gets chunks of his shoulder blown off, he continues to defend a helicopter full of people to give them time to escape. In terms of offense, his main abilities involve mana, which is the energy of the planet and everything that lives on it, which is then turned into plasma inside his body, which is then used for plasma fireballs, which are his main offense. But he is also extremely intelligent and extremely good in hand-to-hand combat. For example, when he fought Legion, he knew that if he ripped off its two horns at the front, it would lose the ability to fire its microwave beam. In terms of abilities, he can convert fuel and heat. For example, he was sent crashing into a fuel refinery, and in the explosion, he absorbed a lot of the heat to make a more powerful plasma ball. And when things get really disparate, he can call on almost all the mana on Earth to create extremely powerful attacks. But really, this is a last-ditch effort, as it has adverse effects on the planet itself. For his data sheet, let's get into that. He has movement 10 inches, toughness 18, 2+ save, 150 wounds, 4+ leadership, OC 25. Pretty standard for a medium weight kaiju. He's only 85 meters tall, and surprisingly he's only 120 tons, which makes him very lightweight for a kaiju. But that might just be a printing error from an old book. Regardless, in terms of ranged weapons, his standard one is the plasma fireball, which is a little on the tamer side in terms of kaiju ranged attacks. It has blast, hits on a 2+, 36-inch range, 2d6 plus 5 attacks, strength 24, AP 5, and damage 10. Again, getting hit by this is going to hurt anything in the game quite effectively. And then you see here he has another weapon called the Ultimate Plasma, which has Torrent, the Last Resort, which we'll get into in a minute, devastating wounds in one shot. That's at 72-inch range, 66 shots, 66 plus 6 shots. Obviously it's Torrent. It's strength 36, AP 5, and damage 14. The reason this is so powerful is this is Gamera's most powerful technique. When he was backed into a corner fighting Legion, he absorbed an immense amount of mana from the Earth and fired this off. But again, it's something that he can only use really once before the Earth needs to recharge its energy, so it's very much something that he uses only when he absolutely has to. In terms of melee weapons, we have just Gargantuan Claws, which is the standard kaiju melee profile, 26, AP 4, damage 10, hitting on 2s, 15 attacks. Now, he also has a last resort weapon in melee called the Banishing Fist, which he used in his third outing, where he absorbed an immense amount of energy after ripping off his own right arm to plunge it into his enemy's chest and then detonating it, killing his opponent instantly. It's an extremely powerful attack, but again, Gamera did have to rip his own arm off to use it. And then finally, he has the Spinning Cutter, which is pretty similar to the standard kaiju profile, but with slightly more attacks and slightly less damage. And that has the Spinning Flight ability, which we will get into in a minute. Oh, I forgot to put this on his abilities, but Gamera can fly. He can shoot... he basically has jets in all 4 of his limbs. So with the last resort, any weapon with this keyword cannot be used unless this model is below half strength. So unless, again, things are going bad, Gamera can't access his most powerful techniques. But his most powerful techniques are strong enough to essentially one-tap anything in front of them. I mean, from Warlord Titans to enemy Kaiju, there's really nothing in the game that can withstand those levels of attacks. But again, it's one shot, you can only do it once. Then we have Towering Defender. This model can reroll any Battle Shock test as well as adding one to the result, because Gamera really is just that guy. He never backs down. He will fight until he is, about to die. He is relentless. Now, of course, Gamera's subtitle is the friend of all children. So if any friendly models are within 6 inches of this model that have a toughness of 3 or less, they cannot be targeted by shooting attacks. Now, this is something I'll get into when I make like the Kaiju detachment, but this is more so just a fun rule in case Gamera is fighting alongside some other forces, because Gamera does fight alongside humanity, to defeat like Legion or things like that. He will fight alongside them, he will defend humanity, but not necessarily to the point where he's like, always doing it. If he has the chance, he will always save a person. But if he needs to sacrifice a few people to get to his opponent, he absolutely will. Then Towering Defender, it's just the standard towering ability for Kaiju. He can move through buildings, destroy the buildings, etc. Then finally, he has the Spinning Flight, because if you don't know, he has 2 flight modes, but the main one is he retracts all of his limbs, starts shooting out jet engines from each of his holes in his shell, and starts spinning at insane speeds, which makes him use Spinning Cutter in melee. He gets the fly keyword, and his movement's increased to 30 inches. He has the Monster, Titanic, Epic Hero, and Gamera keywords. His faction keyword is obviously Kaiju, and that's just about it. Now you'll see here I'm using the Gamera 2 design. That's just personal preference. It's my favorite design of the Heisei Gamera, but any Gamera you want to use, just use this datasheet. I've been Spoons Rattling. I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you all next time.